Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 94, and today we're going to be jumping into some Gauntlet. And so, if you caught the previous video, we just did a Prime Glory with what I can call kind of like the good cards strategy, the good deck strategy, as to where we don't really go out of our way to target any specific deck, but we try to set up a collection of decks as to where the matchup table is never that bad. And so, as we saw in the previous video, everyone just let us play scouts every time. And then they kind of picked and choose between either banning Annie Zig's Katarina, or they would choose to ban the other one, what I think to be the best deck in the format in Fizz Ribbon. And so I'm going to take like a steep departure away from that in this one. The concept I'm using today is I've always kind of felt like, what if you're able to just make this like really strong core of a deck and then just carry that over 3 times. Now, you can't, exactly do that, right? You have to use different champions in every archetype, and then you also have to play different factions in every archetype. So you can't play, say, like Noxus plus Shurima in one deck, and then Noxus plus Shurima in a different deck with a different collection of champions. You have to split apart the factions. But if the core of your deck doesn't center around a champion, there's nothing really stopping you from keeping that core, but then playing different factions around us. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today. The second piece of that puzzle is I did make mention in the previous video. I saw a post from Mega Mogwai about playing Inspired Light or Inspired Heal, whatever the thing's called that gives all of your units +1/+1. And I have a hard time believing that it's good. Everything he says is very full of hyperbole. Everything is either the best thing in the world or the worst, and so you have to kind of take his commentary with a grain of salt. And so I wanted to try out the Inspired Light in the previous video, and I've actually been kind of blown away by it. And so the thing that we're looking to do here today is we're going to be really doing battle across all 3 decks with this Inspired Light style build. And so I'll get the decks pulled up real quick. I'll probably have to talk about them a half second longer than I typically do in these things, but the Scouts deck we're bringing, it should look pretty familiar from the previous trial. I just went and basically removed all of the Rangers Resolves and then just upgraded everything into Inspiring Light. This is the deck to where it's really got a lot of punch, to where you're able to use Mirai Warden and Island Navigator to put a bunch of units on the board, and then it's very easy to have 6 on board. But like the kind of main theme of this deck is the kind of different branch of this. We've talked about this concept before of playing these Demacia based decks, to where we have this core of Fleet Feather Tracker and Petricite Broadwing in conjunction with the Brightsteel Protector and the Durandi Sculptor. It gives us this like really strong early game board control kind of package, and then we can look to expand upon that package with whatever unit growth that we want. And so kind of classically throughout history, you've always used things like either Poppy, or if you've used the likes of Vanguard Bannerman or Cythria, or here we're also using Genvivis. But like with the Scouts, it really gets to pop off on that, right? It uses the Vanguard Sergeant, the Genvivis, and now the Inspired Lights. And of course, the big kind of payoff for doing all of this stuff is the Golden Aegis. And so you're going to see this spread across all 3 of our decks today. Like piece number 1, we're playing this Challenger package along with the Sculptor and the Brightsteel Protector. We're going to have some kind of way to grow all of our units. You're going to see the Inspiring Light in every deck, but then we also have some other unit growth cards across the board. And then all of our decks will also be featuring Golden Aegis as the way to kind of close out the game. The way I always talk about these stat-based decks is just having a bunch of stats isn't good enough. You can attack your opponent for like 50. They just block your board and don't take any damage, and they just say like, LOL, here's a Feel the Rush, thanks for playing today. And so you have to have like the Golden Aegis, Overwhelms, or Elusives to attack through all of your opponent's stuff, and that component here is going to be with the Golden Aegis. And so otherwise, outside of the Inspiring Light, a pretty standard collection of Scouts cards. Deck number 2 we're playing with this package today is Lulu, Poppy, Yordles. And so again, you can see we have the Fleet Feather Tracker, the Brightsteel Protector, the Durandi Sculptor, the Petricite Broadwing. We have ways to grow our units, whether or not that's with Lulu or Poppy. We have our collection of Inspired Lights. We have the likes of Paparo the Great to just boost our Yordle stuff. We have a collection of ways to make all of our units grow. And then we also have the big game closer in the Golden Aegeus. The last deck we're featuring today is doing, again, the same thing. We're going to be playing Galio Bard. We have this early game collection of challengers with the Tracker, the Broadwing, the Bright Steel, and the Durandi Sculptor. You can kind of boost the Durandi Sculptor, or boost the challengers with Esmuth here as well. And then we expand on the challengers package here with Lauren Protege, Swiftwing Flight. Hey man, how do I make my stuff grow? We've got the Galio, we've got the Vanguard Sergeant, we've got the Inspired Light, and then at the end of the day here, we're also packing the Golden Aegeus. And so, this is the concept we're bringing. All of these decks have the same similar core to it, and I think that's fairly interesting in terms of Gauntlet. Do I think this is like the thing to take to seasonals? Like if seasonals was this week, would I want to do this strategy? Like no, these decks aren't to the power level that they need to be to kind of run away with that, and the matchup tables don't fall in the kind of way that you would want to see that. But I think it's kind of an interesting exercise to come out here and try. I think all these decks are fun. Everyone knows that I really love playing Scouts, and so I have no problem with bringing that to the party. And I think it also gives us an ample opportunity to bring a little bit more showcase to the Inspiring Light. If you're not familiar, if you didn't see the previous video and why I think the Inspiring Light's interesting, it's because of the rules of the game, right? We can only have 6 units on the board at a time. If we want to add a 7th unit to the board, we have to overwrite something and lose something, but the Inspiring Light gives us the means to play a sort of pseudo additional unit, right? We have it's not an additional unit, but it's putting all of the stats on the board. It's something to kind of take the place of dropping that 7th unit on the board. And one of the ways that you also see a lot of these decks sequence is say we don't have a 1-drop, right? But we curve out, we play the Sculptor on turn 2, we play the Petricite Broadwing on turn 3, on turn 4 we go 2-drop, 2-drop again. That leaves us with just this 2 spell mana, which can be incredibly useful historically with just Sharp Sight, but now with the Inspiring Light, we might find ourselves in a position on either turn 4 or turn 5 to where we get to completely flood the board with the full 6 units, and then use that remaining 2 spell mana on something, right? It's very easy to have an aggro deck to where you can't use that spell mana, but here we can. And so before we dive in, I will pull up the matchup table real quick. I know everyone here loves a really good spreadsheet. And the thing that ultimately worries me about decks like this, and what I talked about in the previous video, is you absolutely do not want to have happen with your lineups, is if you take a peek here at the Viego Deserter line, right? I'll try to highlight it a little bit here off to the side, but you can kind of see that it's just 3 bad matchups across the board. And so it doesn't matter what our opponent bans. We would be facing 2 bad matchups into the Viego Deserter. This is what we used to see in the past down here with, say, Yuumi Pantheon, right? Yuumi Pantheon is 3 bad matchups across the board. Just the style of deck that it brings, we can beat it, but where they're just coming at us with a gigantic overwhelm attack twice in a row, our small challenger units just can't deal with that. We'll also run into problems with the Alawi-based decks. It's kind of noted up here. It looks like Galio Bard might have a decent matchup, but the other ones are kind of bad. That's what we're trying to avoid, right? What we would ideally have is something, say, like, I'm not sure if any of these matchups will even table up like this because of the decks are also very similar, but you're looking to get in a space to where, regardless of what they ban, you have either 2 good matchups or 1 good matchup and 1 bad matchup. But this deck here, it does have a ton of just bad ones. If we run up against an archetype with both Viego, any flavor of Viego, I should say, along with like Alawi or with Pantheon, then we're really going to struggle against that kind of thing. But not too worried about it. We already got our Prime Glory this week. Let's go ahead and jump into battle. And so I did do a little research before we jumped in. Everything in all 3 of our decks is premium, minus some of the champions and epics. And so the pay-to-win price has been paid, and we are ready for battle. So let's jump on in. I've been really interested in this Inspired Light. I think we're going to have a good time with it today, and I'm looking to maybe make a video or 2 about it later in the week next week. But it's a pretty interesting card in that I think it's very meta dependent. I've talked a fair bit about Misfortune here recently as to where misfortune isn't like spectacular in this current format. Just because she doesn't, like, if we're up against Galio Bard, you're not able to trade up, right? That's what you're looking to do, is you want your 1 and your 2 drop to trade up to your opponent's units because of that extra point of damage, but it's kind of hard to pull off here. But with this matchup set, we're going to ban off this Anivia here to the right. One of the deck, kind of ideas we're going to look to avoid are the big AoE control-heavy kind of decks, and I don't really want to be playing against this Blighted Ravine, Shadow Isles kind of thing. And so we'll be okay against Zed Bard. We'll be okay against the sea monsters. It's just this this really control-heavy style deck isn't what we're looking to play against, right? If our opponent AoEs our board, our Inspired Lights aren't going to have a chance to pop off. Okay, so opponent bans scouts, and let's like the kind of concept I've been taking of recent is like I want to play my worst deck first, so I have the chance to play it twice if we need to, and I'm not like really feeling like the Poppy deck is the worst one. I feel like I want to battle with Bard Galio twice if we have to. It's like I'm happy with how like scouts function. I'm happy with how the kind of Poppy deck sequence is just like I'm just not the hugest fan of Bard. I don't like a lot of the high roll aspects of what makes Bard work. Uh-oh. Did the game break? What's going on here? Okay. Seems to have fixed itself. Good job, Riot. Alright, so pretty reasonable start. I don't want to start with the Golden Aegis, but a pretty good curve otherwise. Get all the Durandi sculptors down here. The way that this will, kind of probably sequence out against the Zed decks is, they're going to want to play Zed on turn 3, but they have to contest with our challengers. And so we should be able to get like a big slam of damage in before he's able to come down and drop the Zed on us. The other thing that's like a real pain against this deck is if they manage to get a boost on the 2/3 in the early game, whatever, the 1/2 that copies itself can be a bit of a struggle. But pretty healthy looking start here. We get to spend all 6 mana in our first few turns. Don't get to do that too commonly, but coming in with the Broadwing here should be able to contest anything he's able to play. And again, like he really wants to be playing Zed here, but the board doesn't really ask for it, right? He can't just get domed by 4 units this turn, so he has to play something. But Zed is also no good on this board. Cool. Pretty good time for the Swiftwing Flight as well. If you can imagine having 3 challengers on the board with the Swiftwing Flight, you could certainly do worse. All right, hit a couple charms on our relevant units. Nice. He brings in Zed. We're going to have to like block Zed with something. Probably looking to just throw away the Durandi Sculptor at this point. I'm not super worried about the health. Like, we could look to play Bard, but Bard's not big enough to actually get a kill on Zed. And so I'm a little skeptical of trying to pull that off. I mean, do we ever just try and keep the unit? But it's like, it's so bad if we drop Zed and then the opponent's like, LOL, here's a Twin Disciplines I'm going to trade for your Bard. And so I'm just going to go for the full board of challengers next turn. Of course, we're going to block Zed with the Durandi Sculptor. We'll open with the Swiftwing Vanguard. And then we'll get maximum stats coming out of the Swiftwing Flight, boosting anything that manages to get blocked. Dude's hitting the chimes. But see, this is the space. I know we can't cast Inspired Light right now, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. We have to make the decision, okay, which of my units do I want to replace with another one of these units? It doesn't feel very good. But if we're able to play the Blinding Light here, then we can take a lot of these stats just off the board. or add the additional stats, we could potentially lethal here. We're not going to be able to lethal on this attack. And we also have to say, like, well, he's probably got a Twin Disciplines as well. But I think we should still be trying to chunk in the damage. So it's like, we're going to come in with these. I want to make sure we have 3 damage going in front of Zed. We can do that with the bird. And then the only thing here, I don't think he's going to have a way to, say, shrink the Petricite Broadwing, but that would be like a definite possibility. It's certainly our weakest unit here at this point. Only get him down -2. Not the greatest, but take the Zed off the board. That's nice. Gotta deal with this dum-dum. He's gonna take him up to infinity health, but we might get an opportunity for a really big Vanguard Sergeant. Ooh, the Golden Aegis. Ooh. It's an appropriate noise, I assure you. Okay, leading with the Aegis. This is, if we play a unit, he's just going to attack us, and so I want to be able to come in and block if he's going to bring something. Okay, now we're safe to add units in.
Discipline and steel.
Give him one of these. Okay, and then do we want to try and go for the open kill next turn? I think we should be relatively safe. The things to worry about, though, I don't know if this deck plays like Ionian Tellstones, which you could Tellstones into... oh, what's it called? He could Tellstones into Health Potion, and then I'm not worried about him playing like 2 Homecomings. And so if it's like a single Homecoming, it's not that bad. But I think we're like reasonably safe to add units to the board this turn. We have a couple of challengers, so we should be able to like safely get some of this stuff in. So I'm going to add Bard. I'm going to look to add the Brightwing Protector. He's able to punch in a lethal here as well. And then just try and attack opponent from too many angles. Fuck, who plays this stuff? Okay. We can still attack through it. Right, he needs to answer 2 units with 4 mana. We can send Feyfolk way down to the right. I think we're okay now. He's going to have a health potion to get out of this. Cupcake. Alright. I feel like that's the proper response. I mean, do people really play Shadows and Dust too frequently? I don't know. I guess it's a cool play with Meduli. It looked like he probably got a million chimes off of that one, but it's not something I would regularly expect to see. We'll have to keep it in note, though. We gotta play that deck again. I got real worried in that previous game, though. We went to emote, and I wasn't sure if I'd set them up yet. We thankfully did, but you know, that can always be a problem if you don't have your emote game on point. All right, reasonable start. And this is, you know, the space, again, I'm talking about with Inspired Light. I may not really want to play Inspired Light on turn 4, but we do have a pretty good collection of units that can take advantage of that spare mana, right? So we play Broadwing into Protector into Poppy. We have that 2 mana banked up. That gives us a pretty ample opportunity to maybe on turn 5, right, play Broadwing plus a Lulu and then boost everybody. We hit a chime? No, it must have been him. He has Bard on board. Okay, if he has a combat trick, I'm okay with it. This seems more likely that they just have a no play. I guess the thing of like concern here is if we have our Broadwing on board, then next turn he plays Zed, we're able to barrier through the Zed. When we have this, like, boost him up real big kind of board, right? If he plays Zed here, it's a real pain in the dick. And so... Ooh, do we ever just bank through this? I think I'm pretty okay with that. Just get us, like, reset up to dealing with Zed. But his deck does, like, scale much better than ours. It's like, I just can't imagine that he has a no play here. Like, it just doesn't feel right. We still have the Broadwing. Depending on what he plays, we can pivot over to Conchologist, and we'll try to set this up a little bit better. I'm liking that attack we made less and less. Like, don't get me wrong, I think we played this game wrong. I think we should have just no attacked in the previous turn. Right, when we have the scaling cards, we have the Lulu, we have the Poppy, we have the tools to really cause some problems here. All right, take the Conchologist. We got to build up to something big here. I think we just want the Wallop. This is a fairly scary Kinku Lifeblade that he has on board, and I'd like to be able to, not really worried about the stun here, given that he's already at 20, but when we're trying to make our big attack, that's a pretty reasonable unit to want to shuffle off of the board. Okay, so we have to add Poppy here. I don't want to, like, overbank too hard. I mean, I guess realistically, we could just look to Golden Aegis this turn. It was like I was wanting to get Lulu plus something else, and the next turn play Poppy plus Brightsteel, but I mean, this is a pretty reasonable spot just to Golden Aegis our Poppy. I think I'd rather just have the Brightsteel. Okay. I'm gonna let that go. Right, we would have to, like, lose our Broadwing into this Kinku Lifeblade. That doesn't feel spectacular. This turn, though, we can say, like, play Lulu, Brightsteel, and then follow up with Golden Aegis, which is a much bigger deal. And so let's get started with this. Let's see what comes down. We'll add Lulu. Being like that his spells are Ionia only, we shouldn't have to worry about too much stuff here. So do we have to pivot? I don't want to lose either of our champions. We can, right, the problem card here being the Kinku Lifeblade. Is this a turn where we just stun him out of combat? Because, like, we have two problem units here. I think that's okay. Well, here we'll be stunning the Meduli, right? We should probably just do that preemptively. Gets us around problems like Nopify, and then it lets us also just punch in the damage here. I like it. Bust, do you like it? Yes, I do. Okay, then this still works out right. This gives us the 4 health Broadwing because of the Poppy boost. I like it. I like everything happening here. I think we got this sorted. Punch in for 11. He loses his dude. We don't care about Meduli. And now we're ready to drop a Golden Aegis next turn. I'm on board. I like it. We can even whimsy this dum-dum if we feel the need to. There it is. That's how you emote him. LOL. Drop that echo heat. Don't tell me that wasn't awesome. That was fucking awesome. Okay, so we're never going to lethal this turn now that he has Lifeblade, but we're definitely just winning this game. So let's go ahead and get him into combat. Don't particularly care where. He's going to gain the health either way. And then we'll get him with an open kill. This Poppy is going to flip on the open, give everybody impact. This shit's about to be done. Well, that was a pretty sweet Renzi, wasn't it? That was pretty sweet. I don't know how your day is going, but mine has been made. Everybody gets impact. Alright, I guess Lulu missed out on it, but it doesn't really matter here. We can autopilot this one pretty safely. Watch all these Yordle videos while we're at it. It's like we're watching the Sundisk movie. Ready, set, slam. Get him, Poppy. Uh-oh, he's playing cards. Got him. Nice. Nice.
Quest complete. On to the next one.
Okay, good stuff. On to the next quest. Rip Zedbard. I can't remember if that was supposed to be a decent matchup or not. Like, it's in here somewhere. Zedbard's fairly positive across the board. The Poppy, we aren't technically playing Poppy Bard, right? The Poppy deck is more along the lines of the Scouts deck. It was just in terms of stats, this is the kind of like closest thing we could find. But oh my gosh, what is this stuff? I assume that No Champion Demacia Shadow Isles is either like it's some kind of Cytheria deck, right? It's probably playing the 8-drop dude that makes her cost 1 less, whatever. It's probably might be playing the Harrowing or something. I think I'm like okay with just slamming into it. Looking to ban the Anivia deck again. Like I don't want to play against these dum-dums playing Blighted Ravines and Shadow Isles drains and stuff. And then Garen had probably elites. Sure. Yeah, we'll play elites. We have a pretty similar strategy. I feel like we're maybe just doing it a little better. Well, I don't know. Like Scouts may actually be a fairly bad matchup for elites, given that they have like kind of the same strategy, but they have a lot more growth than we have. But I'm going to run the Bard Galio as our first deck. I just feel a lot more comfortable playing Scouts than I do Bard Galio here. It's like I think Bard Galio is probably better against Scouts, but it's worse against this thing, right? If we're like actively getting to turn 7 and to turn 8 and counting on Galio to actually do something, then it's a little bit scarier. But here, I'll hang on to the Sculptor, look for some challengers, see if we can't come out the gates faster than they're able to deal with our stuff. First appearance of Inspiring Light. I'm inspired. I don't know how you're feeling today, but it works for me. Oh, we get a free attack? Nice. It's like I never get to expect to get to attack with the Durandi Sculptor, but we missed out on our aggressive package. Oh shit, we just had a 3/3 one. I didn't even notice. Oops. So how do we sequence this one? Like, next turn, I most certainly want to be playing 2 units plus the Inspiring Light. I really want the stats out of this thing. And so the option here is to play the Esmuth now, so we get to chime something next turn. I don't feel like that's ultra necessary. We'll take the guaranteed stat off of the Sculptor. Do we just keep playing him? Is 3 Sculptors enough? Why not? Why not for the memes, right? It's like we have to play Broadwing. We miss out on a stat this way, but let's take the chance to wait and see. Let's see what they do. Like, we'll get the +1 onto our Broadwing either way, and so I want to try and ensure that we get decent combats here. Okay, so we can play Esmuth. Now we can Inspiring Light. We can put the Esmuth boost onto our 3/3 Durandi. and then that's going to keep him from having any good blocks on this board. Now, he's going to grow back like 2 Undyings next turn. That's going to be short of lethal. And then we have the Golden Aegis. I think we're in a pretty good spot here to get this taken down. Right? Don't care about these dum-dums. Sure, you did damage. Good job. Drop an Aegis. This is like 8, 11, 12, 13. So we got exactly lethal. I would assume he's going to have a play, but we should be able to get like an open kill on the next turn. Okay, I'm gonna boost the Durandi Sculptor. I don't know if this is a deck where they're going to have like Vile Feasts, but I don't want to lose our unit to Vile Feast if they have one. Can we kill off an open? It's slightly scary. I'm like deciding if we need to play the Sculptor and the Vanguard Sergeant. We probably should. Like if we open and he has a Vengeance, then that's going to feel pretty terrible. We just got the opportunity to get a full board. Okay. I'm good with playing the units here. There is a Vile Feast. The Vile Feast is involved.
That's a bit better.
Okay. I think we're going to be short on lethal now.
Needs a finishing touch.
Looks like we're coming in for 7. A little bit short. But he should have a pretty tough time killing us next turn. He can't play like his... It's not Hecarim, it's whatever, it's some gigantic expensive-y dude. We're going to have to block some of this stuff though now. I don't want to... I don't want to be dying to weird shit like atrocities. So let's just go ahead and keep our health high. We can follow up with Galio. To leave us in a pretty good spot.
Someone who won't break.
Give me a day and you'll have 2.
Oh, fuck. At least Galio eats the spell shield. Or eats part of that with his spell shield. We still have to, like, play cards. We can't open because they can have things like Vengeance, but it's scary. Don't get me wrong. I'm a little scared. Not big scared, just a little scared. Drop Bird, we can drop Broadwing, we can drop 4 Demacia if we need to. Oh, hate seeing things like the Aristocrat come down here. He takes a big pause. Maybe maybe that was enough. All right, well, he didn't just concede. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but like anything that we would try, if we tried to play the 4 Demacia, anything that would just kill it, he could already play it. Whew, that was a close one. I wasn't expecting the Ruination to come out of that. Glad to get in the back of my headpiece that that's a possibility. He moves over to what I assume is elites. This is, you know, I'm a little worried about the likes of elites. We got a pretty good start against it with the bird and the barrier, but and they can come at us pretty hard. Awkward start. Need to pick something up next turn. Like, as a failsafe, we can't always just play Inspired Light next turn. I mean, it's not it's off price by 1, right? You typically get 5 stats with some upside for 2 mana. We're a little bit short on that here, but we can bank through this, I guess. We can wait until next turn, drop the Island Navigator and Inspired Light then if we want.
The ocean charts our course.
Doesn't feel spectacular.
Our way.
Let's just keep waiting. We'll get the full board with the Quinn.
Ready to do my part.
Is there reason? I think we should probably just wait. We don't have any real positive attacks here. Okay. Sculptor, you would have been great earlier. Would have been great. He has so much mana. I don't want to get super involved with this, but I think this is okay here. And then, like, I guess we go ahead and play Quinn. Like, I would like to just, like, drop the Durandi Sculptor and then... But we're gonna, like, we need all this mana to work out kind of perfectly. And it's like the only additional card we could play next turn with Quinn would be our single Fleet Feather Tracker. I don't think that's gonna pan out that well. Okay. So give him like 3. It's not bad. Pretty big collection of value there.
Every work demands a piece of ourselves.
Captain Krauka, call me Garen.
I sculpt what others only dream of.
This is not delightful. This was exactly what I was worried about against the Scouts decks. Like, we really need to be getting an attack in. Like, even if we flip our Quinn, it's not that great. Okay, GG. Take us back against the other one. That's just historically a bad match. Not a lot you can do about it. It's like, you have a very similar game plan to where you're trying to get kind of incremental advantages, right? Through your stats, you have... And like, you know, the normal, like, very basic level of game theory with these things with card advantage, right? You say, okay, I played my 1 card that draws 2 cards. That puts me up 1. But these decks function through what you call virtual card advantage, in large part, as to where we have 2 3/3s on the board, an opponent has a 4/4. Their 4/4 is now generating them 2 cards worth of value because they shut down your 2 cards with their 1. And the elites, the Scouts deck does that a little bit. It can generate some boards through its challengers and using, say, like Misfortune to win some of the challenges and setting up some like things in the future that kind of count that way. But the elites deck is just kind of the master of doing that. Really needed like a Misfortune that game to kind of pick on some of those boards. Alright, Bird, do your thing. We'll play the Durandi Sculptor here. You know, we were able to get in an attack last game. Maybe we can get one in here as well. Excellent. All right. That was expensive. Would have been nice to keep it on board, but I'm happy enough to have them trade their 5 mana spell for our 2 mana spell.
A Demacian soldier is worth 10 foes.
I don't think they can interact with these too well. Yeah, the Undying is not the bastion of interactivity. And so now we're getting pretty well set up to either a big 4 Demacia or some kind of board growing kind of thing here. Got lots of setup with the Aegises and the Inspired Lights and everything. Quinn shows up. So is it like realistically better next turn just to play the for Demacia? I want to be cute with the Inspired Light, but where is it? He's at 9 mana though. So if he has the Ruination here, we are pretty hosed if we just try and get too clever on this board.
Still heart, steady aim.
Okay, let's just start with this and see where it gets us. Like, he's still in a space to where he's going to have to Ruination on this board. We have 11 damage, and so it's like he has to play something, right? What is this, 7 damage coming into Quinn? We can't sharp sight out of that. That's okay. We can still bomb tons of damage on this board with the For Demacia. That's probably the way to go about it. Then we can drop a Golden Aegis next turn if we want. Okay. So we punch in for 6. He gets a good block with Dum Dum here. That was pretty good for opponent. We could have gone about that like a little bit differently with like Inspired Lights and stuff, but I think it's okay. Absorb Soul. Wow. Going deep on the heel.
The ocean charts our course.
What a bust in the Star Shepherd. All right, well he's going for dudes. Ooh, he completely whiffed on his spell there, and so like do we Golden Aegis here? I guess that's a question. It feels like we probably have to. Like this would have been a slam dunk if we had like anything with the Star Shepherd, so it could kind of be guaranteed to get the 2 damage in. But like, how do we get through this turn, right? If we Golden Aegis, we hit for 4 with the Navigator, 7 with the Sergeant, and then the other Sergeant just gets blocked. Takes him down to 5. Just feel like we can get a better one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and double Inspired Light so that we can open with our Scouts next turn and see where that leaves us. Like, this rally's just not good enough here. And he barely has the mana to Ruination. That could potentially be a thing, but one step at a time. There it is.
Discipline, steel.
Man, I wonder. It's like man. If we just had like one more Inspired Light, would we be able to do it? He's so close. This would take us to what is probably too low. Falling to 9 is okay.
You're covered.
Okay. Another Vile Feast would be fairly awkward, but we can threaten lethals again now with the For Demacia. Rumble. Wow, okay. So we still got a For Demacia to take this Spiderling off the board. I think we have to be threatening lethal this turn.
My steel is yours.
Okay. Alright, Fam Jam, let's see what we can get done here. Gotta draw something cool. Mirai Warden, okay.
I've never met anyone like you.
Gives us lots of opportunity. Okay, feels a little better. Got 3 units providing the lethal here. Ooh, all right. That's close. Man, it's like I feel like we did the right thing there in the pick ban. Like the Anivia deck is like no fun to play against because of all the AoEs, but I didn't realize that we were just going to be walking into the Ruination deck. Like that was that was not really on my radar of things that were about to happen. We got the victory, though. That's all that matters in the end. It's just there are a couple spots in there where it's like I'm uncertain if we played the Inspiring Lights right. We had so many options in there with the Inspired Lights and the Golden Aegisuses, and just trying to punch in that last amount of damage. And so, anywho, onto this. This is a fairly easy one. I feel pretty good about taking all of our decks into the Sun Disk. This is kind of the classic strategy development against the Sun Disk was realizing you either had to have overwhelms, elusives, or rallies, and all of our decks are sporting rallies, and so we can deal with it reasonably. I don't want to play against the AoEs that come out of Lysandra Talia, and that does leave us out here with scouts. We'll probably he bans out our scouts, so we don't have to worry about a mirror match. What's interesting? I wonder what he starts with. It's like I want to put. I think would we rather have like Bard Galio against scouts? All right. Well, I'm going to start with the Lulu Poppy here. I'm not entirely sure what we're going up against first. Okay, so I'm fine to hang on to hands like this against the Sun Disk. We should pick up like a 2-drop or something by the 3rd turn. And then we can start just running in with Poppy. Ideally, you can kind of like open with Poppy on turn 5. But yeah, we picked up a delightful looking curve here at the start. If he plays a 1-drop, I'm not going to attack into it. I don't want to trade into a, whatever you're called, the Waking Sands generator. We have too much board building here to deal with that. We have a barrier to protect into it. We have a Poppy we want to get max stats from. It is not worth that trade in the opening turn. Yordle Smith does say what up, though. He's a big fan of coming out here and generating good combats. All right, Conchologist is our worst unit here that will slam into the Rockhopper. Like I don't think Purify does anything against this deck. We'll just take the Trinket trade. I don't think it's going to be that great, but the Manifest could be relevant at some point. Ooh, why would you never take the hook? Ooh, we're gonna get some advantages out of this stuff. I think we want to go with the Yordle Smith. Protects both of our units here. The downside to Yordle Smith is if he plays the 3/3, right? He would be kind of right on curve with it. It's just like the suspicious thing here was him not attacking with the Rockhopper into the Conchologist. I do like the idea of saving the Bright Steel to protect Poppy with here in a turn or two from now. So I guess it's like, okay. If he drops the 3/3 here, we can't attack with everything. I'm still like kind of considering if I want to trade the Fleet Feather into the Rockhopper. But, alright, I guess we don't have to worry about it. He can have like Quicksands here, but if he like 2-for-1s with Quicksand, it's not great. But he doesn't get to build up to his theme. That's fine. There's the Endless Devout.
I just know the hero's around here somewhere.
Okay. So let's see. How do we want to do this? The Yordle Smith, works here. I don't think we're gonna have to like pick and choose anything with the Broadwing. He's probably the one to lead with, though. Then we can decide if we want to play the Protector or the Yordle Smith. The big play here would be Xerath, right? I want to be able to answer Xerath if that's what he's going to drop. We could technically like pick up an Otterpuss. Let's see what we hit with this. I'm not opposed to just putting that small unit on the board. Confront, Single Combat, and Otterpuss. These are all good spells. It's like I'm not really worried about the interactivity, though. Let's pick the unit. It just interacts nicely with this board. Right? We get to play a dude. He's threatening against things like Rockhopper and 2/2s and stuff. Oh, that's painful. Probably should have read into that one.
I've got your back.
I mean, we're still okay. It's just that's like we've been bested at every corner of this game to developing our strategy. But we got another Poppy. We'll just try it another day, I guess. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll work next time.
We live in hallowed times.
All right, so this is always the awkward spot. We have to add like something to the board here, because we can't just like waste all of our mana. We could look to say like preemptively Golden Aegeus, and then make an attack and then follow up and try and open next turn. The problem with that is we can't just drop Poppy. I think this is okay to drop Paparo. Like what I'm kind of envisioning in my head for next turn is like making a Poppy plus Golden Aegeus play. Ooh, interesting. This guy was my concern. I wanted the Endless Devout to be off of the board. Okay.
More than one way to pick a pine cone.
More than one way to pick a pine cone. Preaching to the choir. All right, so Xerath will be ready to flip here.
Swing low, send him
Azir would be a little bit short.
you proud.
It's a big old Xerath. It's a big old Xerath. We'll just have to hook him off to the side with the Broadwing. We can't let it get involved in combat here.
Ready, Hammer? No backing down.
Okay, so look to take away his good blocks. And we're gonna try and Golden Aegeus and then punch in again. Maybe we should have like pranked before we started all of that. Like, I don't know if it's like a worry or not in terms of him. Yeah, he's had so many quicksands. Maybe we can wait until next turn. Let's go ahead and, do we want to drop this prank? Xerath isn't like scary yet. We can knock him away with the Keeper's Verdict. I don't think we're gonna do that. We're only dealing with spell mana here. All right, neither of these are compelling hits. Let's take the Dune Keeper, so we can like hook the Dune Keeper into Poppy if he puts it on the board or something.
Not sure what to do either.
Okay. All right, let's learn our lesson. Let's go, go ahead and protect Poppy here. I don't think we have to worry about any more like quicksand kind of plays. He's already played 2. What's this? Oh, Rite of Negation. Okay, that makes sense. So how do we feel about this? I mean, I guess he's gonna drop the Dune Keeper. I don't think we have to worry about anything he has. Let's just play the Tenor of Terror and look to open next turn.
Sing with the darkness in your heart.
All right, let's get to work.
Right, he's gonna play the Dune Keeper. We'll hook it with Poppy so she stays out of combat. He's got 1 block on whatever our biggest unit is. I guess that would be the Bright Steel, and he's looking to take 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He didn't even play his dude.
Honor guide me.
Got him. All right. That's that's why I typically feel pretty okay playing against the Sun Disc with these decks. Like, I feel like everything went wrong that game. You know, he didn't have a perfect draw, but he 2 for 1 to quicksand. He had a second good quicksand. Like, he had a lot of good things going on. He had a lot of options to do stuff in there, and then still just got blown up by the Poppy. And so it's typically something that feels pretty safe. So what do we got here? We'll hang on to our 2/2s. Look to do some of that same stuff all over again. The same, but different. Similar. But not exactly the same. See if he leads with a Rock Hopper next turn. That would be kind of sucky. I mean, I guess we're just trading 2 drops at that point, but I want our Durandi Sculptors to be safe.
If it's made of sand, I can light it.
I mean, we can look to just overbank. This doesn't feel like the kind of space to where I really want to
Every work.
like try and contest his board. You can have them just completely fill out the board. This doesn't feel like the space to where we're gonna like chase after that strategy. Got a good Lauren Protege for this turn. Okay.
Strength and grace, beauty in the play. You wanna
Okie dokie. So now hopefully we're in a spot to play around this Endless Devout a little bit. His attack is ignorable. We can load up the board with a ton of stuff. Hey, Inspired Light showed up. Works quite nicely with this massive handful of 2 drops. We can play 2/2s here, 2/2s next turn, and then be pretty well set up to drop the Inspired Light.
Let's get to work. Need repairs?
Now, it's like you don't run into the Shapestone too often, but if he has the Shapestone here, it's so completely terrible for us. Okay, so we'll drop the Esmuth. That's going to give us a Chime in hand for next turn. It's also going to give us the opportunities to get the Broadwing up to lethal on this Azir. We hit the Chime on it, so it wasn't required, but it doesn't stop it from being the right play. Now we can switch our bonus onto the Protege. Well, he's just going to grow anyways, right? We're going to play the Inspiring Light. Maybe we should have protected the Durandi Sculptor. She should be big enough either way here, but
Stands beneath me and wins behind me.
not an excuse.
Needs a finishing touch.
run them through? Hardly fair.
All right, well, that's what we're presenting. Blow up his board. He gets to do some stuff. I mean, he's going to have 2 sarcophagus on the board. Not to say he can't refill and do some scary things here, but looks like we're in a pretty good spot. Dropping bards left and right.
Hey, I am feeling great. This girl is heavy.
All right, you just got a bunch of big dudes. No 2 ways around that. There we go. The Inspired Light turbocharging our Bard, giving all of those stats to accommodate the flip. Looks pretty good. He's ready to block now. Ooh, this is aggressive. This has to be a quicksand, right? Has to be. Did he just give up? Is that what happened? Weird. Are we lethal? What is this? 3, 13, 14, 15? A little bit short. We'd have to play a dude. Well, we can play out all this stuff. Play the tracker, we'll play the Inspired Light, we'll still have access to the Sharp Sight. Like, we're short on lethal, so we can't... Like, I was going to say, if he has another Desert Naturalist, there's just not anything we could do about it. But our board is pretty impressive here. So let's give Bard the 5 health. We'll probably have to sharp sight our Bard. We want to hook the Fearsome down here to the right with our sharp sight dude, or with our Broadwing. Assume he's going to put a 5 on Bard. We'll sharp sight here. This is probably about as good as we could hope for. So, I mean, it doesn't feel great. This is definitely a spot to where he can be like, Herder, here's the Zir, and the next turn here's the Zerath, and play the movie and call it a day. This is where I talk about the strength of rallies, though, right? You need to... we needed to get, like, the second attack in, or get an attack in on this turn. Okay, so he's got the well, I guess it's not guaranteed to have the Azir at this point, but he's got, yeah.
Destiny calls. Arise.
Really? Does this guy play Shaped Stone? What am I missing? Why would you just throw away your Azir? Maybe that's what we're going to run into, right? He's picked up... No? Like, if he drew Azir, he would want to have the things. Sure. Should we have... I'm trying to think if we should have played that Galio there. It's like... I didn't stop to check the math on how close a... on how close a quicksand would be to knocking us out of that game. That was very strange. That was an odd Azir attack. Felt like he'd just given up. But we got there at the end of the day. Little scary, but the work was done. And what have we got here? It's looks like interesting. The Fiora Taric is coming up. Lurkers is fine, and I'm also fine to play against Annie Jen. And so It's just like I see a deck like Tarek Fiora, and I have to ask myself like how scared of that I actually am. Like the Lurkers matchup should be pretty reasonable across the board. I'm pretty sure the Scouts deck was a favorite against Lurkers. I don't remember if it even shows up on the charts anymore. Is it like is this good? Does this get played enough? Where's Rek'Sai at? Yeah, it's a positive matchup for what should be the extent of our board. So I think I'm fine to leave it. Annie Jen, like I don't know, looks really ridiculous across the board as well. Okay, so we'll just take the Fiora deck out of the equation. It's the one that strikes me as being the most like kind of like the most like a like elite style grow my dudes kind of deck. I mean, when I guess when I see like Fiora with Tarek, they're probably just doing some kind of like OTK thing, but that's the thing that it does like slightly worry me there though. All right though, with this, I'm gonna just mulligan for our ones and our twos. I did pick the Bard Galio deck to go first with because I feel like it's the one that's like the most susceptible to lurkers, and so if I have to play lurkers with this thing. I kind of want to have like two shots at that deck if we're going to have to like play with the slightly slower thing out here. Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with their unit suite. Let's just go with the Broadwing. It should be able to survive like most of their things. We miss out on a little bit of value from the Durandi Sculptor, but it's like I feel like they're just going to be playing a bunch of like, it feels like all the units have 2 power. I guess he could have played Stunbird and that would have been pretty bad, but otherwise I'm not scared of too much here. He's got the pure challenger draw.
Let the bloodshed begin.
Katarina's gonna ace our tracker. I mean, sure. Not ideal, but whatever.
Break their spirits and their swords.
Only fools hesitate.
Okay. I mean, he gets like advantages here, but it's not enough to like really contest our board. That was a very expensive like lightning bolt into the Fleet Feather tracker. I'm pretty sure I'm fine with that. And what do we pick off of the Swiftwing Flight? I don't think we're going to draw anything that I would rather play. It's like... it's just so good on our board. I'm leaning towards taking the double bird. But I could also see an argument for just going cheap. Right? Like next turn... Let's say we take like a Fleet Feather Tracker. Next turn we play Sculptor, Broadwing, Tracker, and then get to open the following turn. Or if we want to say Golden Aegis next turn, then we would also just want the 1-drop. Okay.
Run them through.
All right. I'll hook Annie with the Protege. He's our smallest source of damage here. Right? He's only dealing 2. These others deal 3. Let's send the 3 in. Death Lotus Disintegrate with a Gen in hand. Okay. Interesting. Does that flip the Annie? She's getting really close. Alright. Pretty high-powered play. I'm like kind of like contemplating now if we want to go for the Aegis this turn or for next turn, right? We can get 4 or 3 units on board. That feels like a little bit safer here.
I sculpt what others only dream of.
So we'll add a Sculptor, we'll add a Tracker, we'll add a Broadwing. He rallies, okay.
Quick as the blade.
He only has 2 mana here. Like, Guess he could have another Disintegrate. If he's pulling the Annie back, I guess he doesn't. But it's pretty easy for him to either have another copy of Annie in hand or to have a Disintegrate in hand. This makes sense, though. He's going to take the flip. And then now we can't block Annie because she'll do 3 damage with her ability. Then we just get like such massive attacks next turn.
Just in thick. A little reinforcement at the seams.
I want to play.
To the point.
That's aggressive with Katarina coming in. I don't think we need to block her. Like, are we at 10 damage next turn? Like, if we have... Well, I guess we have to worry about dumb shit like Death Lotuses, but... You'd be falling to 5. Tibbers is pretty scary, let's be real. If he plays Tibbers and then gets to AoE our team, then we're taking a significant amount of damage. Alright. This is pretty scary. So we'll come in for our 10, right? Get that little 10-piece nugget coming out, make him deal with that first. And then if we need to, hopefully we can do something with like Golden Aegis and a recovery here if we need to get a second attack in. Guess if he's got like Death Lotus number 2 plus Tibbers, then then the game is done. They do have like a lot of burn in deck, but this should be a pretty tough spot for burn cards to come through. Double Death Lotus. Okay. I don't think we care about that. There's nothing that would do 2 damage to face for 2 mana. I'm pretty sure we've got this game won. Pretty sure. All right, that was a little scary though. I'll give you that game. That was a little scary. Whew. Had us on edge. Okay. Here comes the Yordles. I believe in us. I think we can do it. Do you believe? Do you believe in Poppy? Okay. Annie, round 2. So I think we probably got to keep Lulu, right? Makes sense. It's like I really want to find challengers to try and contest that early Annie. It's nice to make them have to like fuck around and protect her with rando abilities, but the curve is just too meaningful to pass on, I think. Oh shit, I clicked on stuff. I gotta quit just clicking the screen so much. So the worrisome card here would be like a stun bird, right? We play a dude, he plays stun bird, we don't get to attack. I think I'm willing to just risk it. Let's get the sculptor down.
Others only dream of.
Right, in the face of stun bird, we could play like a bright steel, and it wouldn't be as scary, but it's nice to be able to save the bright steels to try and protect our poppies with.
Of course I'm ready.
Where's my hammer?
Is this worth? Like, I'm not amped about I don't think I'm amped about that damage. Well, it opens our units up to getting hit with like a Ravenous Flock kind of card.
That tasted purple.
That tasted purple. Alright.
I hope this works.
Just I'm still skeptical. I at least want to get the big unit boost to next turn. We get to bring like a pretty scary attack. Paparo.
Got this from a side quest.
Okay, I'm on board. Crackshot Corsair? I didn't realize this gal was a Yordle. I guess this gal? The female she looks like, is it Brave? Is Brave like the redheaded Disney princess? Is that what we're running into here? Huh. Alright, well I'm going max damage. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to bring to the party with this, but leveling up the Durandi Sculptor here lets us basically attack with everything. It looks like this is going to be a Death Lotus, which is fine. If he has like a Death Lotus Disintegrate, that's fine. But this is what seems to bring like the most problems to his board. Okay. We'll see what happens. We can look to drop a Golden Aegis on this next turn.
Let the bloodshed begin.
Oh, Crackshot Corsair kind of brings some problems into the mix with that, but okay.
My shield is yours.
Maybe we don't go for it.
To the point. They'll never know what killed them.
Has to be scary, right? I mean, he has to do something. We were threatening with so much next turn.
I'll shoot the wings off a bilge wasp.
Like a pretty powerful board. I don't know. I don't know if you did the mathematics on the power level here, but it looks pretty big. Boost the Sculptor again. We would have technically gotten one more point out of boosting the Crackshot Corsair. I guess that would have been the better target, but I kind of had in mind that like all my Yordles were going to die if he played a card, and so I wanted to come out and protect our non-Yordle card. Okay, he did stuff. He's still taking neg 20. Cool. GG. Market of prime glory for bust. So yeah, not a bad collection of games. I think we got, you know, a fair run of the matchups we ran into, and I feel like with some of those decks we could have like flipped and swapped and kind of called them what the, you know, when you're facing up against people bringing like a Nivea, and they don't seem to be doing it because they're playing like some kind of triple control lineup. It seems like it's kind of more along the lines of like triple meme, that, you know, what if that deck is just Thralls and you find yourself able to just kind of ban it? That's how I kind of like saw some of that stuff. But again, like as you kind of run decks like this, I don't think this is the area for it. You know, you really need some of these matchups here where like Annie-Gen is really choice. You need a lot more of these kind of like triple green looking matchups if you want to run something like this seriously at like a tournament or event or something. I mean, I guess this table isn't like the worst. As you kind of come down here into this second section of decks, like from Annie Ezreal down through Lurkers, and the matchups aren't that bad. But this is kind of what we took as, you know, being our lineup where we just ban Pantheon, right? You can kind of come down here and see, well, the Pantheon matchup's all terrible across the board, but is this deck good against everything else? And it used to be like fairly realistic that you could pull that off. There weren't too many like go tall, blast you with the overwhelm style decks, but now that the Viego Deserter deck is a thing, it's a little bit more relevant. The Viego Sharima is relevant as well with their ability to just kind of like slam in and then atrocity you out of the game. Those are all strategies that are pretty powerful against Scouts and Scouts kind of base decks. And all of the decks we're playing here are all very similar to Scouts. But I think we got to show off everything that we were looking to achieve here. I feel like we had pretty good success with the Inspiring Light. Whenever you're out here playing a game and you're just like, oh, cool, I have 6 units on board and I have 4 cards in my hand and all 4 cards in my hand are units, that would be a place that's a pretty good spot to play an Inspiring Light, right? And then as we also kind of see in how a lot of these games sequence to where we play a Sculptor on 2, we play a Broadwing on 3, and then on turn 4 we play, say, a Brightsteel Protector plus another 2-drop. That's a pretty fantastic place to be dropping Inspired Lights, right? If you're getting 8 stats for 2 mana, pretty good deal. I guess with the Broadwings it's technically like 7 stats, but whatever. The same thing applies. It has some versatility across the board, and I've been actually pretty surprisingly happy with this thing, and so we're gonna have to give it some more love, give it some more testing and play, and see how it holds up. I think it definitely works the best in the scouts. The weak link, at least in this lineup, felt like the Bard Galio. I just don't like Bard decks. I'm curious if there isn't another kind of Demacia base out here to kind of take this style of deck in. Like, if you're just saying, okay, we're playing rally decks, then you could look to just say play like Rally Loawi, and have that be, kind of like right in the same area. But this just felt like the weak link today in the Bard Galio. I'm fine with scouts. I'm pretty happy with the Yordles. It was just the Bard Galio that didn't really rev me up in my loins, and so a little unfortunate to have that feeling, but it kind of is what it is. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. You learned how to be inspired by the light a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.